All right, we have a couple of things for today. I want to go back and recap and make sure that I fill in all of our 2.4 notes for you to make sure that you really have all of these multiply rules. We talked in class about the product of two real numbers with the same sign being positive and the product of two real numbers with different signs being negative. These were review facts. There were some sample problems, and I didn't have the answers up, but they're up here now. And we talked briefly at the end of the hour about those properties of multiplication. So we talked about commutative property and associative property and the fact that they are the same rules that we had with addition, that the order in which two numbers are multiplied does not change the product. So 3 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3. So commutative property and order are tied together. Associative property is the way that you group three numbers when multiplying does not change the product. So if I change 2 times 3 times 4 and I regroup so that I do the 3 times 4 first, then multiply by 2, I'm going to get the same answer. 6 times 4 is 24. And 12 times 2 is also 24. That's how we know that they both end up the same. We talked in class about the identity property. And remember, with addition, the identity property was adding 0. But with multiplication, the property is multiply by positive 1. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, and a times 1 is a. The property of negative 1, or the multiplicative property. Practice saying it. Multiplicative, multiplicative, multiplicative. The multiplicative property of negative 1 is just simply by saying that when I multiply a number by negative 1, the answer is going to be its opposite. The property of 0, we are pretty familiar with the fact that when we take a number and we multiply by 0, we get 0. So those are those properties of multiplication. They're memorization facts, and they will be tested as vocabulary. So there's some practice problems here at example 2. Pause it, see if you can solve them, and then check your work. I kind of cheated a little bit because it's already up here, but pause it and check them out. Hopefully you're just coming back to me. I want to point out to you here in letter F, this is definitely a trick question and one that may pop up again in the very near future, say on a quiz or a test. Notice here that this is multiplication, 6 times 2 times 5, equal to 6 times 5 times 2. That they changed the order in which things were multiplied. When the order gets changed, that's the commutative property. Be very cautious because the common mistake here is to make that say that that's the associative property. But it's not. It's the commutative property because we changed the order. We did not change what's been grouped together. So you have some practice problems, give them a try. And if there's anything that you don't understand or anything you have trouble with, we'll talk in class. I do want to remind you of 2 facts. We put them at the bottom of our notes earlier, but I want to remind you one more time that when we take x plus x, when we're doing an addition problem, that's when we get 2x. In comparison, when we do x times x, or maybe we write it as x times x, that when that happens, that's when my exponent changes and I get x squared. So make sure that those 2 facts and how they are different is something you practice. So again, practice those example 3 problems and then come back and check your work. Hopefully you've been checking your work, and here are your answers to those problems. Be very cautious with this absolute value And I think there was another spot where there was absolute value of the negative. Yeah, where was it at? Nope, it's in a different problem. So just be careful. Make sure that you're plugging numbers in and you're showing your work so that you don't get stumped on these.